and putting Offset on a reggaeton perreo song, it's like, wait a minute, this is freaking awesome.
Chesca, thank you so much for your time today. Lovely to have you here. And, we're going to do like a little spotlight on you and your career and, everything, that has led you to this moment right now. But let's go back. How did your career start? Like, what were your beginnings? Were you from like a musical family, or how did you get into music?
I've always been a huge fan of music. I started following the steps of Michael Jackson, Tina Turner, Madonna, Aretha Franklin. And from a very young age, my mom, it's an actual former performer, singer, dancer, and my dad is a musician. So from a really young age, I just saw them always like playing music. My dad was in a band his whole life. And when I turned about 9 to 10 years old, my dad and my mom, they started realizing that I had so much love and passion for music that they just like kept putting me, like my mom had me in like dance class, and I was in every single talent show of school. And I was always the one putting up the choreographies. And like, when I was like, a child, one day my dad had a cover band, right? And Puerto Rico was like really famous and like super popular to have cover bands. Like they would play songs that were popping. And one day his lead singer got sick. I was 10, 11 years old. And my mom was like, why don't you just put Francesca? Like, she knows the whole repertoire, like just have her sing. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, no. And my mom was like, why not? You know everything, just go, like, it's okay. And it was a bit controversial because I was a minor and my dad used to perform in bars. But in Puerto Rico, it's a little different, like, I guess in Puerto Rico, even if it's a bar, I mean, I would go there and do my thing and leave, right? But I end up doing the gig and I end up, like, it was such a success because yes, every time we see kids like performing or doing something, it's just like amazing, right? And I literally did the show and I was like performing and like I was just like in a whole different world. And I took her gig, like I literally took her spot. My dad never called her again. No, not like that, but he fired her. Was like, my daughter is the new lead singer of my band. And that's how really my career started and developing this huge love for music and being an artist. I continued doing my thing with my dad, but I also started traveling. I traveled and I wanted to explore new things. And I just started developing this like love for American music that I was just like, you know what? I haven't told you guys what happened to me because it's a long story, but when I had my accident at 11, I had a huge accident that kind of really put a hold on my career for many years. Music was really the only thing that kept me alive, like literally, because I had a really horrific accident that it like really messed my head up, my emotions. Like I was just like in a really dark place, depressed, and music was really the only thing that kept me going, like that kept me just surviving. Because as a teenager, like to face accidents that deal with your self-esteem, it's really hard for a kid, and especially for a teenager. And me being able to do music and like kind of hide what was going on because of people just thought I was a character, it's what saved me. And
so music was like a shield for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like because of the suffering that I had to go through so much here in Puerto Rico, because I'm in Puerto Rico right now, I was just like, I need to get away. Like, I need to find myself again. I need to get away from the negative energy. And this is me as a 13, 14-year-old girl thinking like that. Like, I need to get away from this energy because it's going to kill me, right? And it's when I decided, like, I'm going to wait a few more years and kind of like go to the States. Obviously, I was too young to move. I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. So like, there's no way like I could just leave. But the moment I grew up, like 18, like I was just like, I'm out. And that's when I really started developing myself. Like I was trying to really fix myself first before going back into the industry, because like we all know the music industry, it's hard. It's really, really hard, especially for us females. And I wasn't really ready to go back to a world that was similar to what I was going through, because as an artist, you're exposed to critics, you're exposed to people like telling you you suck, you can't dance, you can't sing, you're ugly, you're old, like there's so much negativity for females, like that it's really hard to be in this. But I feel like with everything that I've been through, I have a voice and I have a story that can really motivate so many young teenagers, so many young women, so many women, that it's what really keeps me going. And Despacito, and going back to all of that, after I moved to the States and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I've done my homework. I traveled. I literally toured on my own. I had a record in China that was on the radio, on rotation, because I became like a thing. Like I started doing club shows and I started performing my original music. And one of the DJs was one of the radio guys. And he's like, I love your record. I'm going to start playing it on the radio. And I'm like, yeah, right. I've heard that before. No, that's not going to happen. It did happen. The record was called With or Without You. And it was an original song that I had written along with a producer called Fuego that had done like Jason Derulo and like Chris Brown. And it was a kind of like EDM pop record. So I was like this pop star, this Latin pop star in China, and me being in other cultures and just like learning from other cultures and performing in front of people and just seeing, like, I started really missing my culture, started really missing where I came from. And I had developed such confidence and I had developed such like, okay, I'm through all of this BS that I went through. I'm ready to go back. And I now have a story to tell. I now have something that it's meaningful that can actually help people. And it's when I really truly told myself I'm going to go in 100%. And that's when, I said, I'm going to start singing in Spanish. And this is before like the boom, like, right? Because I think Despacito really put us on the map once again. We had the wave of the Shakiras and the Ricky Martins, but this Despacito song really opened up those doors.
It's a before and after, I think, in the music industry. If you think about it, like Despacito, it's like, yeah, we had Latin music all around, but when that blew up, it's like, okay, now everyone wants to do Latin music.
It was crazy, and I had already made the decision of I'm going back to my roots. I'm going back to singing in Spanish. And literally a few months later, oh my God, what is going on? Despacito is the biggest song in the world, and it's in Spanish. Like, this must be meant to be. This decision of going back to my roots, it's meant to be. And I did the Despacito cover, and I actually went to Morocco and hung out with Luis Fonsi. I was doing touring in Morocco because, as you know, I'm just like a hustler. I'm like trying to like make a living somehow. So I'm like, hey, I'm a performer. I can perform. I would book this is a little secret for all of you that are pursuing music. Pretend to be your own manager. It works. In the beginning, I would literally pretend to be my own manager, and I would literally book myself in every gig, every club. I went to Mykonos. I did so much on my own that it just, a lot of people like say like the artist that's a hustler, like it's always going to succeed because you're just not going to give up. You're just going to keep going. And that's when, this whole thing with the Spanish opportunity started to come around. I was independent. I didn't have a record label. I had signed to a label like years past and nothing really happened. And I was just like, look, I want to put this song out to the world. I want to see people's reaction. I want to test the waters. And every penny that I made doing all those tours, I invested it in myself. I invested it in making the video for Azúcar. I had spoken to an executive at the time that it's now the president of the label that I'm signed to, Gus Lopez. And I said, I need you to manage me because I know this is going to work, and I'm positive that this is going to work. There's no way God let me live this long to not let this happen. And, we're still up and coming. We're still growing. We're still developing like the music and everything. But to me, like, I've done so much. It just comes to show what the law of attraction means and what your positive mindset, like, just, it's amazing. So Azúcar, I produced the video. I directed the video. I was a part of everything. I all the dancers were wearing my clothes from my closet. It was crazy, but it was such an amazing experience and such a like amazing, proud moment that I did that. Like, I invested every penny I had to put this out. And that song, it's what really took me to that level of finding a home. And here we are.
You're truly a self-made artist if you think about it, because you created your own way, like your own career, to put it that way. Would you say that's like the best advice you could give, an up and coming artist, like be your own manager?
if you're trying to be an artist, I just think that you have to think that you're your own manager, your own publicist, your own everything. Because in the beginning of all of us, like it's really hard to just find the top producers, the top managers, you know, and right now there's so much access to artists. Unfortunately, you know, there's even for me, it's a battle because the como le dicen, the generation X or Q or qué sé yo, there's a word for the teenagers now, which is
Gen
like
Z,
the market.
Gen Z.
Yeah, like they're getting so much content that we as artists, we have to constantly be on top of our toes. Like we have to give them what they want because soy yo and I have ADD and I can't really focus on one thing and I get tired of things quick. Imagine a teenager. So it's really challenging for all of us, and not everyone just has it that easy, you know, because there's a lot of people that there's the 1 in a million that get the opportunities at a really young age, and you know, but I think the secret is to never give up. I think the secret is to not get desperate. Because like we tend to get desperate when things don't happen right away. And the best advice I can give anyone is just to, if you're talented and this is what you love the most, and there's nothing else in the world that you'd rather do, keep going. Because it's just persistence is key in everything we do. And I'm not just only talking about music, just talking about it in general.
I know that Te Quiero Baby, that was like a viral hit. O sea, yo vi when I saw that song like popping on TikTok, I guess like the cover version, and then you did the Spanish version with Pitbull. I mean, like, do you have like, you know, a recipe for success there? How did that happen? Did you go to Pitbull like, can we do this song? Did he come up to you? How did that happen?
What's crazy is that, you know, Surf Mesa had released, we had the song way before that song came out. We had that song a year before it came out. We had it locked in, you know, because like when you're dealing with icons like Pitbull, you kind of have to like, and that was my first record, like, you know, and we were like, no, we want to do this record with you. You're like the perfect person for this record. I can't do it without you. And we had already the story, like there was a story with our chemistry and the way I started working with them. So I was like, there's no way that the first record I'm going to release with Saban, which is a huge record for us and it's so special, I cannot do it without you. And we waited and then Surf Mesa comes out with I Love You Baby, and I'm like, told you we needed to release this way before. But you know, everything happens for a reason, and I think Te Quiero Baby, in the end, Te Quiero Baby and that style of music is not really the focus for Chesca, but it's a style of music that I love. It moves me and it opened a lot of doors. I think Te Quiero Baby opened so many doors for me, and I'm forever grateful for the record. It means a lot to me because my parents love Frankie Valli, and it was a special moment that even Frankie Valli himself wanted to be on the record, and he's like, oh, like I want to like change the vocals and like just sound current. That's why the distortion in the beginning, it's like, and he still till this day he's like, thank you so much, because you know he made it to the Billboard charts for the very first time in the Latin Billboard charts, and he's just like us. We'll be forever grateful for each other, but it's just crazy to think that such an iconic song and an iconic artist like Frankie Valli is telling you thank you for the opportunity. Like, what? Do you realize who you are and who I am? Like, I'm starting like
You performed at Jimmy Kimmel, right?
This is my first like US late night performance, and I still can't believe it because I used to live in the same street in LA, same street as the Jimmy Kimmel stage, and I always told myself I'm gonna one day be on that stage. I don't know when or how, or if I'm just gonna like jump the fence, and it happened. And it just again comes to show that like how much power the law of attraction has, and like thinking that things are gonna happen. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. And having Offset on the record gives it like that whole twist, and like combining two worlds in one, and putting Offset on a reggaeton perreo song. It's like, wait a minute, this is freaking awesome. I'm the first Puerto Rican female ever to perform on that stage. Because J-Lo has done performances, but a lot of people don't consider her like Puerto Rican, right? Like she has Puerto Rican descent. Pero yo soy nacida aquí, criada en Puerto Rico, and then it's a little different, like for me. To be the first Puerto Rican female to ever perform in that stage has been a huge moment. Also, like performing at Billboards, which was like an award show that I've always looked up to and always wanted to be in. So definitely Jimmy Kimmel. Hola amigos, soy Chesca. Le quiero enviar un saludo a mi gente de Latido Music by Mitu. Un beso.